Hey, let's see if we can hit VTEC real quick. Woo! She got a little sideways there. Fuck the police. How's it going today, guys? Hope you guys enjoyed that little intro I threw together last night. I don't know, just trying something different. I don't know, let me know how you like it. If you like it, hate it, whatever. I might do something similar to that. Like, I won't change it up all the time, but maybe like every 5 to 6 videos I might change it up or something. I don't know, let me know what you guys feel in the comments. Just trying something new. But anyway, that's not what this video is about. This video is about the VFR800 and my old 1991 VFR750. And if you guys have been following the channel for a while, then you know that I had the VFR750 and then I sold her and got this 03 VFR800. And I wanted to kind of go over why I did that. So what am I talking about? Well, the VFR750, it was a great bike. It was a sport touring bike similar to this one. However, it had some issues, and the issues I'm referring to is that it was a 1991 VFR750. It was an old bike. I went to go get her inspected, and I failed inspection, and I failed because my front tire and back tire were toast. They both needed to be replaced. So I thought in my head, like, oh crap, that's about $300, maybe even $400 when you consider mount and balancing. And then I was looking at the bike, and I was looking at all the problems the bike had, and the bike had a few problems. For instance, one of the fork seals were leaking. Figured, okay, forks, I could do it myself, but the fork seals alone are probably going to cost, what, $100? I could take them out of the bike, but I'm not going to do them myself. Just too hard. I'm going to bring it to some place to do it. And so, I mean, now you're looking at a few hundred for that, too. There was a few other miscellaneous things, like the starter clutch was starting to go. And a starter clutch that's an easy fix, but it's $150 for a starter clutch. So I guess you guys kind of see the point here. And there's a lot of odds and ends that need to be replaced. And I think I tallied it up, and it was about $700 of money that I was going to have to spend to make that bike whole. And it was still, at the end of the day, going to be a 26-year-old 50,000 mile Honda VFR750, which was worth about, maybe in a good day, $1,500. In addition to all that, my VFR750 was a California model. What does California models mean? Well, as you know, California loves their emissions and loves to screw everything up in the world. So they added a ridiculously heavy, I think it was like 8 pounds, it doesn't sound heavy, but it is, evap canister and power system throughout the bike, which made everything super complicated and aggravating to work on. And also they had smaller jets, so the bike had like less aggressive fueling, so it was not as like snappy as the other VFR 750s. And it had different cams inside the engine as well, so it had lost about, I think it was like 10 to 15 horsepower off the top end because of those cams. So I was riding around a terrible example of a VFR 750. It was the California model, which is the model you do not want. And also it had been in a crash before I crashed it. See, I was going to sell it that day, and then I was taking off one last ride with my friends, and then I crashed it like an hour before I was going to meet the guy, which I was pissed. But before I crashed it, somebody else crashed it too. I mean, it had all non-original parts in the front, and it had like been rattle cans before on the side as well. Also, it had like missing plastic pieces, and I don't know, the bike needed a lot to become whole. And I just decided, you know what, take the bike, $1,500 I could sell it for, give or take, rather than putting $700 into it for $700 plus I would still have a crappy example of a VFR 750. It was kind of an easy decision for me to buy a different bike. So the VFR 750, that was axed. Why did I go with the VFR 800? I loved the V4 engine. I did. I just absolutely fell in love with the noise. I fell in love with the way it delivers power. I just loved that V4. And My original plan was to get a 5th generation VFR, which is basically I think it's 98 to 2001, which has the gear-driven cams. But they were people wanted stupid money for them. They wanted like $4 grand for them, and there was like none around that were clean enough for me to want. And I always liked these. I mean, people always give the VTEC ones shit, but I always liked it. I always enjoyed the silver look. And people say the front end looks like a smashed crab. I don't know. I don't really see it. I think the front end looks nice. I think the whole bike looks nice, and I love it in silver. So when I saw one come up in silver, I just like, yep, that's my bike. Gonna get it. For me, it was an easy decision to get this bike. It has good power. I mean, this bike is pretty damn fast. I've had this thing over 150 miles per hour indicated. I'm sure it's really like 140, but that's plenty fast for me. I mean, all I do is commute on it. I don't really hit the twisties with it, or I'm not gonna do any track days with it. I'm just gonna commute with it. It's smooth, it's powerful, it's comfortable, it's nice, it's a good bike. Oh my god. See, she's pretty quick. And that's another thing too, is I forgot to mention about the VFR750, is the brakes were awful. They were they were dangerous. I mean, that's why I crashed, because the bike would not stop when I hit the brakes. I mean, the back end was skidding, the front end was not grabbing hard enough, and I had to like swerve at the last second to avoid rear-ending my friend completely. So, I mean, yeah, that bike really had to go after that point. And, you know, there's some differences. To kind of go over some of the differences with this bike. I mean, I knew I wanted a sport touring. I knew I wanted a V4. What options did I have? And I wanted reliable. What other options did I have other than the Honda VFR800? I mean, there really weren't any logistical options out there. So, some differences about the VFR750 to the VFR800. Just going to quickly go over them. The VFR750, of course, had those beautiful, amazing gear-driven cams, which I miss so badly. Those cams were heaven on earth. I don't know why Honda decided to do away with the gear-driven cams. I guess it was for cost, but they made a huge mistake. They really should have kept the gear-driven cams. Another thing too is, although both these bikes are sport tourers, the VFR750 was definitely more sporting than this bike. You could definitely tell it fed back into the roots of the VFR heritage of being a sport bike. And this bike definitely does not do the sport side justice. I mean, it handles good, trust me, but you start scraping peg way too soon. It's definitely a beast. Actually, it's not terrible, but it's not the best to flick around into corners. And it just basically sits into the touring side of things rather than the sporting side. And for me, that was a big plus, because I have a 600. I have a CBR600RR. It's all the sporting I need. I don't need anything sporting more. This thing has fuel injection, which is nice. And this thing, of course, has the infamous VTEC, which everybody seems to give this thing shit for. And that was the VTEC right there. You heard that change? Sounded pretty good. And it gives a little bit of power too. Personally, I mean, people hate the VTEC for two reasons. One, it kind of defeats the purpose of the V4, because the V4's purpose is to be a smooth power plant, to get you, you know, moving comfortably in predictable power, etc. And the VTEC just throws that right out the window, because after 7,000 RPMs, the bike just gets a whole bunch more power and torque, or not torque, but it gets a lot more power, and it just becomes a different animal. So it's more like a 600cc type thing, where it just gets a power hit out of nowhere, which is good though, because you're getting more fuel economy if you're just, you know, messing around right here, like in this RPM range. I mean, I get great fuel economy, and you still have the power when you want it. So to me, it's a plus, but a lot of people, it's a con. Big reason too is because the valve maintenance on this is an absolute nightmare. I mean, personally, I've seen people go 100,000 miles on this bike, never touch the valves. That's going to be me. I'm never going to touch the valves on this bike. And honestly, I'll just keep riding it. If it swallows the valve or whatever, whatever. I mean, that'll be 150,000 miles in, and I got my $3,000 worth. I'm not going to touch the valves. That's just a headache I do not want to deal with. And I mean, you got to remember, these bikes are cheap. They are so cheap. You can pick up one of these bikes. I've seen them go for as low as $2,000. I mean, they're giving these things away. A clean example like mine you can get for $3,000 all day long. The brakes on this bike are night and day to the 750's brakes. This bike has the combined braking system, and it works fantastically. It works so well. I love the brakes on this bike. Just, again, night and day difference. Yeah, this bike definitely has a taller... It definitely has more of an appearance. You know, it's taller, wider, longer. It's just a bigger bike. And although it weighs roughly the same as the old 750, maybe even a little bit less, it feels heavier. And I think the 750 carried its weight down low more, whereas this one has more weight up high. So, I don't know, I guess that's something. I don't know, the VFR800, this is a great bike. I love the upgraded dash. I mean, I can see everything nice. I have a tachometer, I have my digital speedometer, I have an easy-to-read fuel gauge, I have a temperature gauge for the outside temperature and the inside. I mean, it's just very modern compared to the 750. The 750 was definitely lacking. And after I did my pair mod and valve, all that stuff, this bike really started to wake up and get smoother and just do its job so much better. So it's gonna start to get a little difficult to hear me, so I'm gonna end the video real quick here. But yeah, I mean, if you guys have any questions about the 750, anything I forgot to mention, I'll try to annotate it on the screen, and I'll answer all your comments in the bottom of the video. If you guys like this video, make sure you like this video. And if you haven't already, consider subscribing. I make videos all the time, motorcycle related. Anything with two wheels and a motor, I make it. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Until next time, I'm out. I'll see you guys later. Take care. Bye-bye. This is definitely just an updated version of that bike. I took my old VFR750, and rather than putting $700 into maintenance to keep the same bike with its flaws, I took $2,000 and I sold the VFR750 and I bought this. And so for the $1,300 additional dollars, I think I made the right decision.
It's sick news, pull your little arrows out. Let me live my life, the one I'd better lead. All the plans of fantasies, and we looked at them 11 ways. You said, look